A human arrives. Zach Armstrong stood before the towering gates of the Galactic Institute of Higher Learning, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. As the first human ever admitted to this prestigious alien university, he knew the weight of responsibility that rested upon his shoulders. The gates shimmered and vanished, revealing a sprawling campus of gleaming spires and floating pavilions. Beings of every imaginable shape and size milled about, some gliding on anti-gravity platforms, others scuttling on dozens of multi-jointed legs. Zach took a deep breath, shouldered his pack, and stepped forward into this brave new world. An unexpected student, a human. Here, Professor Zaloth's eye stalks twitched in disbelief as he scanned the roster for his advanced quantum engineering course. Surely this must be some sort of mistake. But there it was, plain as the binary sons of Rigel IV. Zach Armstrong, the first member of his species ever granted admission to the illustrious institute. The professor's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. This was going to be an interesting semester indeed. Zach entered the lecture hall, feeling the weight of 100 alien eyes upon him. He found an empty seat near the front and tried to ignore the whispers and chittering that filled the room. "I heard humans are barely past the steam age," a spindly insectoid creature buzzed to his neighbor. "Are we sure he's not just here as some sort of exchange program mascot?" A gelatinous blob gurgled in response. Zach gritted his teeth and focused on unpacking his materials. He was used to being underestimated. Back on Earth, he had faced plenty of skeptics who doubted the scrawny kid from the wrong side of the asteroid belt could make it in the cutthroat world of interstellar academia. But Zach had a secret weapon, a mind as quick as a neutrino and twice as unpredictable. A perplexing problem. Professor Zaloth called the class to order, his voice resonating through the hall like a well-tuned plasma cannon. "Welcome, aspiring engineers of the galaxy. Today we begin our exploration of the fundamental mysteries of the universe. But first, a small challenge to whet your appetites." With a flourish of his tentacles, the professor activated a massive holographic display. A complex tangle of equations and diagrams shimmered in the air, revolving slowly like the Gordian knot of ancient legend. Behold, the Zylothian conundrum, a problem so vexing, so utterly unsolvable, that it has confounded the greatest minds of 1,000 star systems. For the next week, this shall be your white whale, your Moby Dick, your Everest. The class erupted into a cacophony of excited chatter and nervous laughter. Zach leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. Finally, a chance to prove himself. As the other students descended upon the hologram like a flock of starving vulturins, Zach hung back, studying the problem from every angle. His mind raced through 1,000 scenarios, discarding the impossible and homing in on the improbable. Slowly, a smile crept across his face. The pieces were falling into place. He had an idea, a wild, crazy, utterly human idea. It was time to show these aliens what a Deathworlder could do. A surprising solution. A week had passed, and the lecture hall was once again abuzz with activity. Professor Zaloth stood at the podium, his eye stalks scanning the room. "Well, my bright young minds, has anyone made progress on the Zylothian conundrum? Anyone at all?" A few tentative appendages rose into the air, only to quickly wilt under the professor's piercing gaze. Even the brightest students seemed to shrink in their seats, suddenly fascinated by their own pseudopods. An unconventional approach. Zach stood up, a mischievous grin on his face. "Professor Zaloth, I believe I have a solution." The room fell silent. A human, solving the unsolvable. It was unthinkable. Zach strode to the front of the class, a small device clutched in his hands. With a quick motion, he connected it to the holographic display. The Zylothian conundrum sprang to life, but this time, something was different. "What in the 7 moons of Zorgax is that?" Professor Zaloth sputtered, his eye stalks quivering with shock. "This, my dear professor, is a little something we humans like to call thinking outside the box. On the display, the tangled equations had been replaced by a dizzying array of colors and shapes. It was a visualization unlike anything the aliens had ever seen, a perfect symphony of form and function, elegance and simplicity, a mind unlike any other. You see, Zack explained, the problem with the Zolothian conundrum is that it's based on a flawed assumption. It's like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle with a piece missing. But by reframing the problem, by looking at it from a new angle, the solution becomes clear. The class watched in stunned silence as Zack walked them through his unorthodox approach. Some shook their heads in disbelief, while others leaned forward, their eyes widening with each revelation. Professor Zyloff stood motionless, his mandibles slack with awe. In all his cycles of teaching, he had never encountered a mind quite like this human's. It was as if Zack saw the universe through a different lens, a kaleidoscope of possibilities invisible to everyone else. As Zack concluded his explanation, the room erupted into a frenzy of excited chatter. The alien students swarmed around him, peppering him with questions and congratulations. Whispers in the halls. News of Zack's achievements spread like wildfire through the institute. In the hallways and cafeterias, students and faculty alike whispered about the brilliant human who had cracked the Zylothian conundrum. Some spoke of him with admiration, marveling at the audacity and ingenuity of his solution. Others, like Zorax, a hulking reptilian from the warrior caste of Kraxen Prime, seethed with envy and resentment. "This human thinks he's so clever," Zorax hissed to his cronies. "But he's nothing more than an upstart. A fluke. I'll show him what real intelligence looks like." As Zorax plotted and schemed, Zack basked in the glow of his newfound celebrity. For the first time in his life, he felt truly appreciated, truly seen. But little did he know, his greatest challenge was yet to come. An alien challenge. Zorax strode into the great hall, his scales gleaming in the artificial light. Behind him, a throng of alien students jostled for position, eager to witness the spectacle about to unfold. "Zack Armstrong," Zorax bellowed, his voice echoing off the vaulted ceiling. "I challenge you to a contest of intellect, a battle of wits to prove once and for all the superiority of true galactic genius. A gauntlet thrown." Zack looked up from his studies, his eyebrows raised in surprise. He had expected some pushback from his alien classmates, but a formal challenge. This was new territory. "I accept your challenge, Zorax," Zack said, rising to his feet. "Name your terms." Zorax grinned, his fangs glinting in the light. "3 problems, each more difficult than the last. We will solve them in front of the entire university. The one who completes them all first will be declared the victor." The crowd murmured in anticipation. A human versus a Kraxen in a battle of pure intellect. It was like something out of an old holodrama. "The stakes are set." Professor Zyloff stepped forward, his eye stalks swiveling between the 2 contestants. "I will act as arbiter," he declared. "To ensure fairness, the problems will be selected by a panel of impartial judges, drawn from the ranks of our most esteemed faculty." Zack nodded, his heart pounding in his chest. He had faced plenty of challenges before, but never with so much on the line. The reputation of his entire species hung in the balance. Zorax smirked, confident in his own abilities. He had been trained in the finest academies of the Kraxen Empire, his mind honed to a razor's edge by cycles of rigorous study and brutal competition. No mere human could hope to match him. Preparations begin. As the day of the contest approached, Zack threw himself into his preparations with a singular focus. He pored over ancient tomes and cutting-edge research papers, seeking out the most obscure and esoteric knowledge from across the galaxy. But he also drew upon the unique strengths of his own species, the creativity, the adaptability, the sheer stubborn determination that had allowed humanity to claw its way up from the mud and reach for the stars. Zorax, too, prepared in his own way. He assembled a team of the finest minds from his homeworld, each one a specialist in a different field of study. Together, they drilled relentlessly, honing their strategies and contingency plans to a fine edge. the calm before the storm. On the eve of the contest, Zack found himself walking the quiet halls of the university, lost in thought. He knew the odds were stacked against him. He was just one human, going up against the combined intellectual might of 1,000 alien civilizations. But then he remembered something his grandmother used to say, back on Earth. "Zack, my boy," she would tell him, "you've got a mind like a supernova and a heart like a black hole. There's nothing in this universe that can stop you if you set your mind to it." Zack smiled at the memory, feeling a new surge of determination. He would show them all what humanity was capable of. He would prove that a Deathworlder's mind was a force to be reckoned with. As the twin suns of the alien world set behind the horizon, Zack returned to his quarters, his spirit burning bright with the fire of human resolve. Tomorrow, the galaxy would bear witness to the power of the human intellect. Humanity's finest hour. The Great Hall was packed to capacity, a sea of alien faces stretching as far as the eye could see. At the front of the room, a massive holographic display flickered to life, revealing the 3 problems that would determine the fate of the contest. Zack and Zorax took their places on opposite sides of the stage, each surrounded by a small team of assistants. The tension in the air was palpable, the excitement of the crowd a living thing that pulsed and buzzed like a swarm of Rigelian blood moths. Problem 1. The impossible equation. Professor Zyloff stepped forward, his voice booming through the hall. "Our first challenge comes from the field of theoretical physics. Behold, the impossible equation." On the display, a tangled web of symbols and variables twisted and writhed like a nest of angry serpents. The crowd gasped in awe and terror. This was an equation that had stumped the greatest minds of a dozen galaxies. Zorax and his team set to work immediately, their appendages flying over holographic keyboards and virtual whiteboards. They attacked the problem with a cold, methodical precision, breaking it down into smaller and smaller components. But Zack took a different approach. He closed his eyes, his brow furrowed in concentration. Then, with a sudden burst of inspiration, he began to manipulate the equation in ways that defied conventional wisdom. He twisted it, inverted it, folded it back on itself like a piece of cosmic origami. The crowd watched in stunned silence as the human solution took shape. It was elegant, it was daring, it was utterly brilliant. With a final flourish, Zack inputted his answer. The display flashed green. He had done it. Problem 2. The Gordian knot of code. Our second challenge, Professor Zoloth announced, comes from the realm of computer science. Behold, the Gordian knot of code. The display shifted, revealing a dense thicket of algorithms and subroutines. It was a programming problem so complex, so fiendishly difficult, that it had brought entire planetary networks to their knees. Once again, Zorax and his team set to work with ruthless efficiency. They probed the code for weaknesses, seeking out hidden exploits and backdoors. But Zack approached the problem from a different angle. He saw the code not as a barrier to be broken, but as a tool to be mastered. With a few deft keystrokes, he began to reshape the program from the inside out, weaving a tapestry of elegant functions and streamlined algorithms. The crowd watched in awe as the human's code took shape. It was a masterpiece of digital craftsmanship, a symphony of ones and zeros that sang with the voice of pure innovation. With a final command, Zack executed his program. The display flashed green once more. Another impossible problem solved. Problem 3. The paradox of Zeno. And now, Professor Zoloth intoned, we come to our final challenge. From the annals of ancient philosophy, I give you the paradox of Zeno. The display shifted one last time, revealing a deceptively simple image. It was an arrow, frozen in mid-flight, forever caught between the bow and the target. Zorax stared at the paradox, his eyes narrowed in concentration. This was a problem that had confounded the greatest thinkers of antiquity. How could one ever hope to resolve it? But Zack simply smiled. He had seen this paradox before, back on Earth. It was a classic example of the limits of linear thinking. With a few quick strokes, Zach began to sketch out his solution. He drew upon concepts from quantum mechanics, non-Euclidean geometry, and the complex mathematics of chaos theory. The crowd watched in fascination as the human's mind danced across the boundaries of conventional wisdom. And then, with a final triumphant flourish, Zach presented his answer. The paradox of Zeno, a mystery that had endured for millennia, had been solved by the boundless ingenuity of the human mind. The display flashed green one last time, and the crowd erupted into thunderous applause. Zorak slumped in his seat, his face a mask of shock and disbelief. The human had done it. Zach Armstrong, the Deathworlder from the backwater planet Earth, had proven himself the intellectual equal of the galaxy's brightest minds. A new era dawns. In the days that followed Zach's triumph, the Galactic Institute of Higher Learning was abuzz with excitement. Students and faculty alike spoke of little else but the incredible feat they had witnessed, a human besting the brightest minds of the galaxy in a contest of pure intellect. A symbol of hope. For Zach, life had become a whirlwind of activity. He was invited to speak at conferences and symposiums across the stars, his unique perspectives on problem-solving sought out by researchers and innovators from every corner of the galaxy. But for all the accolades and attention, Zach never forgot his roots. He knew that he was more than just a celebrated individual. He was a symbol, a living embodiment of humanity's potential. Survive and thrive. A new era of collaboration. Zach's words struck a chord with his alien audiences. Many began to see humanity in a new light, not as a primitive, warlike species, but as a valuable ally in the ongoing quest for knowledge and understanding. Slowly but surely, the galactic community began to open its doors to human scholars and scientists. Joint research projects were launched, combining the unique perspectives and problem-solving abilities of humans with the vast technological resources of alien civilizations. At the forefront of this new era of collaboration was Zach himself. He worked tirelessly to build bridges between worlds, to foster a spirit of cooperation and mutual respect among the stars. The power of diversity. As the years passed, Zach's influence continued to grow. He became a trusted advisor to galactic leaders, a voice of wisdom and reason in a universe often torn by conflict and strife. And through it all, he never lost sight of the fundamental truth that had driven him from the very beginning, that the key to solving the universe's greatest challenges lay in the power of diversity. Zach knew that no single species, no matter how advanced or intelligent, had all the answers. It was only by working together, by combining the unique strengths and perspectives of many different cultures and civilizations, that true progress could be made. A legacy secured. In the twilight of his years, Zach looked back on a life well lived. He had accomplished more than he ever dreamed possible, not just for himself, but for his entire species. Thanks to his efforts, humanity had taken its place among the great civilizations of the galaxy. Human scientists and scholars were now welcomed in the halls of learning across the stars, their contributions valued and respected. And yet, for all his achievements, Zach remained humble. He knew that he was just one man, one small part of a much greater whole. As he looked out across the vast expanse of the galaxy, Zach felt a sense of profound gratitude. He had been given the opportunity to make a difference, to leave a lasting impact on the universe. And he knew that, long after he was gone, his legacy would endure. The seeds he had planted would continue to grow and flourish, nurtured by the countless minds and hearts he had touched over the course of his extraordinary life. The journey continues. In the end, Zach Armstrong's story was more than just a tale of individual triumph. It was a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity, to the power of determination, creativity, and collaboration. And as the galaxy looked to the future, it did so with a newfound sense of hope and possibility. For if a single human could achieve so much, imagine what an entire species, an entire universe, could do, working together in harmony and common purpose. The journey was far from over. The challenges ahead were as vast and daunting as ever. But armed with the knowledge and wisdom of many worlds, And guided by the shining example of Zach Armstrong and all those who followed in his footsteps, the galaxy would continue to reach for the stars, to push the boundaries of what was possible, and to build a future of limitless potential. And so, the story of humanity's ascent to the galactic stage came to a close, even as a new chapter in the ongoing saga of the universe began. The future was bright, and the possibilities endless. And Zach Armstrong, the boy from Earth who had dared to dream the impossible, would forever be remembered as the one who showed the way.